Sorry about that. A little bit under the weather, but not COVID. So anyway, are we all set? Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome. Sorry for the late start. Welcome to the May 26th Board of Selectmen meeting, which is again both virtual and in person. And as always, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. And I ask you to please remain standing just for a moment of silence for all those who lost their lives in Buffalo and in Texas in the past 2 weeks. We pray for comfort for their families and those communities. Thank you. Okay. The first line on the agenda here is the approval of minutes for the special meeting of May 4th, 2022. Is there a motion?
Lauren Rabin, so moved.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor? Fred Camillo is a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the minutes for the special meeting of May 9th, 2022?
Lauren Rabin, so moved.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor? Fred Camillo is a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen on May 12th, 2022?
Lauren Rabin, so moved.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor? Fred Camillo is a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for the special meeting of May 12th, 2022?
Lauren Rabin, so moved.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor? Fred Camillo is a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
And just two more. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for the special meeting of May 17th, 2022?
Lauren Rabin, so moved.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor? Fred Camillo is a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
And finally, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of May 19th, 2022?
Lauren Rabin, so moved.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor? Fred Camillo is a yes.
Lauren Rabin, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes. We were busy.
Yeah. That was CMS Building Committee. Lots of interviews with a few other sprinkled in there. Thank you. I'll go right to the first Selectmen's updates. This Saturday, the Costco VFW will be holding their annual ceremony at 10:30 on Strickland Road. Later that day, as you all know, is the Greenwich Town Party with Billy Joel as the headliner. So, you know, some people will be there, some people will be on the water, some people will be close by, but hopefully everybody has a great time and a safe time. Sunday, we have the Memorial Day parades kicking off with 2 o'clock as usual in Byram, and then 5 o'clock over in Glenville. And then Sunday morning, the American Legion will have a beautiful ceremony at Indian Harbor Yacht Club at 8 o'clock. And then we run over to Old Greenwich for their parade and their ceremony, which is always very, very nice. And then 1 o'clock over to Chickahominy in front of the school. And then later that night, Belhaven has their commissioning. So we're getting to the end of the commissionings. And Byram is also having a memorial, but it's at the same time as Old Greenwich. And Old Greenwich is always the first out of the chute to invite us. So I spoke with Mike Armstrong, who would love to get it changed, but there's, I guess, some resistance to changing the time. But it's a beautiful ceremony, and if you're not going to Old Greenwich, I would certainly recommend going to Byram for their ceremony. On June 2nd, the Golden Lights Foundation will be at the Fletcher Hall at Second Congregational Church for pediatric cancer, an event there. June 3rd, we have the oh my God, I need my glasses for this. Can't even read my own writing. What is the CCI's event? Touch it?
Community Centers, Inc.
Yes, but what is the event? It's
So we're going to do a kickoff, and I'll talk about it as well.
Perfect.
Okay, why don't I do that? Okay.
Perfect, thank you. Took me off track there. June 4th is the Mianas River Boat and Yacht Club commissioning at 5 o'clock. That's the last one. June 8th is Parsonage Cottage, 12 o'clock. There's a 25th anniversary of their lobster bake. And then 6 o'clock that night, there is the Boy Scout, Eagle Scout ceremony. So lots going on in the next 2 weeks. So I'll segue right over to you for giving me a life ride. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Similarly, I was planning on starting my update by saying how much I'm really looking forward to all the Memorial Day weekend events in town, that there are so many that I wasn't even going to try to list them all. You did a great job. And that I'm going to think good weather thoughts for the town party on Saturday. But instead, my thoughts are focused on the victims of Tuesday's shooting at the Robb Elementary School in Texas, their families, friends, and communities. If any journalists are listening, please help us know and honor the lives that ended too soon and those that are forever changed by this tragedy. Those were sadly not my original thoughts about this coming Memorial Day, but they are fitting nonetheless. Looking ahead on a positive note, as you may know, I serve on the board of Community Centers, Inc., which will be sponsoring a Move for CCI fundraiser on Sunday, June 5th. CCI has served the neediest residents of Greenwich since 1955, and to continue this mission, ask the community to sign up to walk, run, bike, swim, or move any which way you want to, where you want to benefit CCI. If you're not feeling up for a move for CCI, sponsorships are just as appreciated. For more information, please go to www.ccigreenwich.org. And yes, Fred and Lauren and I and anyone in town hall, we're going to do a kickoff on Friday, June 3rd at noon. We'll meet up here. We'll do a couple of laps behind town hall, and I think it might be somebody's birthday on June 3rd. So we will celebrate in a healthy way, getting some exercise in. And then I just also want to say, after our meeting, I know that you're going to be taking a walk along Post Road to be looking at sites for trees that are according to the Greenscape plan. I won't be able to join you. I'm going to be helping out at a fundraiser for Green and Clean, but I will be with you in spirit. And thank you.
Thank you. We see we have all our events covered here, so thank you, Janet. Lauren, good
Yeah,
morning.
so thank you. I don't have to repeat any events other than Free Music Friday, starting on Friday, June 17th as a noon session. And we're also going to be doing a fundraiser for the talent on June 20th. And like my colleagues, just everything that has happened in the past week, it's just sad, it's senseless, it's sickening, actually. And I think as a town, as a state, as a country, we just really need to come together and find real solutions. Our families, our mothers, fathers, grandparents, children, they deserve that from us as their public servants and town leaders. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Lauren, and I'll echo well said by my colleagues. Just to repeat, as I've mentioned to several people in town, our police department works on this 365 days a year. I know people were reaching out and saying, is there a plan in place? And they're very proactive. And so we're also going to be meeting next week with some other people just to go over some other things, but it's a continuous effort. We're well protected, but certainly, you always want to account for every possible situation. So I want to thank our police department for always keeping us safe. Next, we have one item on old business, which is the road closure for Brookside Drive, and we have A.J. Penn and Son Construction with us, I believe, virtually. Reminds me of Hollywood Squares, doesn't it?
Good morning, First Selectmen, you are here.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
No worries.
Well, I appreciate you coming back this week to to present again. I know we had asked for some notices to be given out to the neighborhoods 2 weeks ago, and I understand that that was done.
Yes, Supporting Water has notified as of the 19th.
Well, we really appreciate that. We just wanted to make sure that before we approve anything, that just everybody was aware of what was going on. So thank you for taking the extra time to reach out to that neighborhood.
No problem, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Dino?
I don't know if anybody else got or received, information. There's a gynecology practice on the corner. Sent an email. It's actually my practice. So they want to know the timing of the road closures because that's going to affect patients being able to get into their office, as well as any water shutoffs because that would affect patient care as well. So I don't know if we have answers to that.
So there will be access in and out for the gynecology, for that clinic at all times. So the road closure is mainly for outside traffic. Anyone who needs to get inside will be allowed in.
Okay, and then the water.
And then the water shut off?
Maybe,
There's a few where representatives, they can speak to the water shut off if they don't mind.
Yes, thank you.
Good morning. This is Jim Dabble from Snyder Civil. I could answer that. So as far as water shutoffs go, generally shutdowns are confined to when the main is actually when they switch mains over from the new main to, or I'm sorry, old main to new main. So every building is going to have a water service that currently is served off the old water main. Once the new main installation has been completed and has been accepted by Aquarian, which means that it's passed, it's been disinfected, passed all testing. At that point, they will transfer the services for each of the buildings. Generally,
Jim, you're breaking
ahead
up.
of these transfers. Nope. I'm sorry. Let's try that again. Generally, there's really only one time where a water service gets shut off, and that's when the actual physical transfer is done, which doesn't take place until after the water main installation has been completed. And generally, there's at least notice a week in advance. We hand out flyers, and then again the day before, as well as when it's shut off. Typically, it's a relatively short duration, only a couple hours at the most. And that could be scheduled to work with it with business hours as well, so that it doesn't really impact the business.
Thank you, Jim. Maybe if Lauren can, Jim, if you could maybe send your contact information, and maybe Lauren can contact her doctor and just line up the hours, just so nothing falls through the cracks. But we appreciate that.
Okay, you're welcome. Our pleasure. I'll send that over. Also, I do want to note one potential situation. Now we are doing a water main replacement project. Generally, that takes place, to upgrade the reliability of the system. So the only other potential where there could be an issue is, say, if there is, we'll call it a water main break, which would be similar to any other break that takes place within the town or anywhere else in the state. That would be the only other potential time where we'd call it like an unforeseen shutoff. But given the main's age, that could happen at any time anyway. So the purpose of this project is upgrade reliability to eliminate that in the future. But I do like to bring that up as we'll call it a disclaimer, if you will.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
I was just going to say, that's an important clarification, and thank you for making that. Similarly to Lauren, I was going to ask about this doctor's practice, and to me it begged the question. I'm sure that there is a number that residents and businesses can call if they have specific questions. Is that in the letter that was handed out?
We didn't do the physical handing out of that letter. I will defer that over to John Farrell, but usually when Aquarian sends out notifications, they do put a customer service contact number on there, should there be any concerns.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ken?
They ever said the dates for when this work will actually take place and the shutdown will be? They haven't given a date.
Okay, yeah, just go to the mic. Gotta be formal here, sir.
Also because we are directly across the street.
That's right.
Well, I'm learning as I go. Our office is directly across the street from that doctor's office as well, so this affects your beloved local journalists. But what are the dates for when the detour will be in place and the road closure?
And it's a 60-day duration window, I believe, and the start date is,
So, so the start date would be, we're thinking tentatively around June 13th, where we're gonna mow in, do the saw cut and preliminary test pitting. And then the actual mainline installation is around the 20th of June.
thank you, and then that should probably go to mid-August or earlier?
It's probably September. It's all depending on the unforeseen conditions, inclement weather, rock, stuff like that. And we also are working currently on Woodland Drive. So the start date is also basically predicated off the completion of Woodland.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just maybe a point of clarification, because it said there was a 60-day timeframe there. So if it started in June, then-
So 60 days would be for the mainline installation, not including services or unforeseen conditions. Like rock. Yeah.
Okay, so I just don't want to get something out to the public, and if we let them think it's mid-August and then it's going to mid-September, because we will definitely hear about it if it goes beyond. So maybe if when you send over that information, could you just give us just a better time frame? This way we can get that out there in on our weekly e-blast this week.
Sure.
Thank you, appreciate them. All right, so I guess, pending those clarifications, I guess we're set to vote. Is there a motion on the floor?
Lauren Raven, I motion that we approve the road closure request for Brookside Drive.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thanks, Jim, and thanks, Dina. We'll certainly wait for that information, but we really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
you. We really appreciate the closure.
Thank you. Have
Thank
a great,
you.
have a great day. Okay, next we go to new business, and we have the lease, lease renewal for Ableist over at 101 Orchard Street, and the town attorney Valerie Mays-Keeney. Good morning, Valerie.
Good morning, First Select, fellow members of the board. I'm pleased to be before the board. Can you hear me?
Ken broke it.
Okay.
I'm sick of being accused.
All right, it's working now. This item concerns the lease that the town has had with Ableist on the Contemporary House on the Pomerantz property in Coscob since 2002, so many years now. This is a classic lease for a public goods situation. It's a $1 a year type of lease. And the current lease, which was renewed back in 2012, is expiring at the end of September. So I'm going to just address a couple of process issues and then update one issue for the board. I'm not going to be asking for a vote today. The board's process is to schedule a lease such as this for at least 2 meetings so that there can be some public comment and input. And then at that point, if the board supports the lease, then you would vote for MI approval. So that will happen at the next meeting that you have concerning this lease. It is a group home for persons with, adults with special needs, limited to 6 people. Those terms are not changing in the proposed new lease. So there may be some minor revisions that we may have to present at the next meeting, as to the lease language, and those will be submitted. So those are the process issues. It would go for MI approval and come back to the board, be approved, and then go to the RTM eventually. So the update I have is that the only issue that has come up is the issue of the access gate to the property. And under the current lease, and since 2002, the Ableist assumed the obligation to install and maintain an electronic access gate. Previously, there had been just a chain link at the time the town acquired the property, a chain link barrier so that it would prevent public vehicular traffic from going into the Pomerantz property. Why? Because it's not intended for vehicular traffic. That's not what the roads are set up for, and there are trails in there, et cetera. So there's a concern that the town has about vehicles going in there and the risks to pedestrians, the drivers, the group home residents, the preservation of the trails, et cetera. So unfortunately, this electronic access gate, which is expensive, has fallen into disrepair and has remained open for some time. And so that has been an issue because it is an expense for Ableist to undertake to repair that. And there have been discussions about that which are ongoing. In the new lease, there'll be a variety of alternatives available to the town, including the town going above and beyond its lease obligations, but to install a manual gate there and share a combination lock with Ableist. That would be one option. We would have concerns about, will the gate remain closed as it should? So we're talking about a fee, administrative kind of fee to cover staff costs of $50 if it's left open in each instance, that kind of thing. The town would have Ableist could install an electronic access gate at its expense. If it's left open all the time, would call for similarly an administrative fee in each instance. That's the proposal. Or if the town decides that this is not working and it needs to put in an electronic access gate, it could then bill Ableist for that, and similarly some provisions if the gate is left open. So hopefully this is an issue that can be worked out, and the next time I appear before the board, we'll have an agreement on that. I would point out that at any time now, the Director of Parks and Recreation, who's charged with supervision of this recreational area, would have the charter authority to install a manual gate, under his authority to do that, and could do that. So that may happen, and I can update the board when this issue is next heard. I do not know if there is anyone in the Zoom meeting who is recognized on this. I'm not aware whether Attorney Siska for Ableist is here or attending. I see that the Director of Parks and Recreation is here. If there are any questions you have, we can address those at this time.
Well, thank you. No, that's very thorough, and I really appreciate you working with Ableist. I know they were very concerned about the cost of gates, and so for the town to offer that, even though manual is a little tougher than an automatic opening gate, but certainly if it saves some money, it may be worth it. And again, I thank the town for standing up and taking the lead there, and Joe in your office. So thank you.
Sure. Yep. We'll be concerned about the town's liability in this instance, so it is an important issue that we can work out in the context of an otherwise wonderful relationship, I understand. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing nobody else there, we have one final item here in the public comment section, and my friend Aaron Boxer is here, who's been very, very patient over the last few months with a request. When Aaron first reached out, he had just moved. He actually moved from a place where there was actually a rooster on Old Kings Highway that I used to hear. I haven't heard it in about a year, but there used to be one there. So maybe they're following you. But he's been very patient, and like we have, ordinances if, a dog is barking. We looked into this, it didn't seem to be anything, so we wanted to make sure that Barbara was here and that we could address this concern so Aaron could get some sleep, and his neighbors too. So we appreciate your patience, Aaron, and do you want to come on up?
Are you in this meeting? Yes. Raise your hand. Oh. In the meeting. I'm on the computer.
This helps when you do those combos.
Or are they doing it like in
No, I haven't. Did you get one?
Last night, that's why I woke up
And-
this morning shivering.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'll wait till I can shiver.
1 in 10, so maybe you'll be in the 9 then.
Both my brother and sister got shingles.
Very terrible.
Yeah.
I was scheduled in 2019 and it got canceled. And then, pandemic. So I thought I got it.
Modern technology.
That's still last.
Morning, thanks.
I like that. Maybe we should start swearing people in here. Got a new tradition.
Right. All right, so do I click the button or is it already good to go? It's good. Okay. I'm sorry?
your name?
Aaron Boxer? Okay. Thanks. Well, first of all, putting things in perspective with everything that's going on in the world, I feel badly about having to be up here to talk about something that's, in the grand scheme is not a big deal, but I appreciate you letting me be here. So just in terms of expectations, hope this isn't too long. It's be about 15 minutes, soup to nuts. Okay, all right. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Of the 10 commandments, the commandments against false testimony is seen as a natural consequence of the command to love your neighbor as yourself. This moral prescription flows from the command to follow the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. My neighbors have invited me to treat them without regard for morality and kindness. Treat them as they have treated me, with lies, deception, and disrespect. However, I subscribe more to the ideology of Gandhi, which is an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. I'm not out to get even. I'm here to get peace. Peace of mind, and literal peace from the cacophony of roosters littering the peacefulness of the day. With their constant crowing, they go from the dawn till dusk. I listen to crowing. Sometimes it goes on for hours and hours upon end with no more than a 10-minute break. Sometimes I get a reprieve for an hour or two, but that is rare. The town of Greenwich has been a blessing and a gift. In September of 2020, I bought my first house here in Greenwich. I saved up my whole life for the privilege. I feel lucky that when I was a toddler, my single mother brought my sister and I here from Long Island. Like most parents, she brought us here to give us the best life possible. I come from meager beginnings, food stamps and patches on my knees. Lived right across the street at the Brookside Drive Apartments. My mom provided a template for how to build a business from nothing and turn it into something. I attended Julian Curtis, Brunswick schools, and subsequently paid my own way through college without loans with the money that I earned from working in the restaurants here in town. During that time, I lived from Rhode Island down to Florida, and if there's one thing I could say about Greenwich, there is no better place to live than right here. After years, I've had the opportunity, finally, to escape the communal aspect of apartment living. I have been around long enough to know that nothing is perfect, but I thought that living in a house with only one house adjacent to my property line and away from the downtown area would grant me the peace that I had been seeking. I work from home as a learning specialist and as an executive functioning coach. Some of the people I work with suffer with anxiety and attentional difficulties. It is impossible to shield myself from the continuous disturbance that I'm going to be speaking about, let alone my clientele. Roosters have had a direct impact on my ability to get proper sleep and provide adequate support to the business patrons, and that is a fact. Now, let me say that I love animals. I have 2 dogs, and I have nothing against any breed, any animals, chickens, geese, ducks, sugar gliders, cats, whatever you like. I'm not here to interfere with anybody's ability to enjoy animals and birds. I don't even have anything against roosters technically, but I do have a problem with selfishness and those who choose to satisfy their own needs at the expense of others' mental health, others' right to work from home, like myself, and others' right to live a relatively free life of nuisances, at least in their home. In this case, the mode of annoyance is a rooster, but the violator is the inconsiderate nature of my neighbor or neighbors, and a town so far that has not enforced some of the existing ordinances. That being said, I do want to thank Fred Camillo here for allowing me the opportunity to speak, Michael Long, Chief Ivy, Sergeant Thorm, for responding to my concerns, and although no action has been taken at this point, everyone has been quite responsive, and I really do appreciate that, because I know, again, in the grand scheme, it might be a big issue for me, but for the town, it's not a huge deal. I hope that it will be. I wish to convey that my first attempt to officially rectify the situation is not here today. I've been addressing this issue with my neighbor for 20 months. He told me via text and in person on a dozen different occasions that he would be getting rid of the roosters. He acknowledged their hardship that they were causing me, and when I finally confirmed with him the fact that I had enough and asked what he would do, he put a white noise machine in my mailbox and told me to deal with it. And that's who I've been dealing with for the last 20 months. All right, down to brass tacks. I want to recognize my appreciation also for the town regulations, which do allow chickens for some. Maybe some people are suffering economically. Chicken affords citizens to produce their own eggs, which not only feeds families, but adds to the town's economic viability. But the way the ordinance is written offers no defense against this tyranny of nuisances. I'm going to share with you some zoning regulations which specify that roosters are not legal. I will also share the health codes that show that roosters are not legal. I will show you an infringement upon our drinking water supply as a result of these neighbors owning roosters, and I will also show you that there is nothing in the zoning ordinances or the municipal codes that say roosters are allowed on residential property. These ordinances have been written in the negative. That means that there are specifics mentioning what residents may not own in terms of roosters, but nothing that says that they can. It's the ambiguity of these ordinances that has backfired. In my research, 13 of 19 towns in Fairfield County specify that roosters are either not allowed or severely restricted. The main caveat is that it is up to the neighbor to decide if the crowing is an affront to their ability to live a peaceful existence. The way the ordinance is written in Greenwich, there is no such option. There are a dozen reasons why roosters crow, and one of them is basically a lack of space. Every state in the country has rooster laws. The Midwest, the West, big farm countries, all have restrictions. Even New York City, which is about as agricultural as outer space, they don't allow roosters. In the concrete jungle, they know what a nightmare roosters represent in neighborhoods that exist in tight quarters. Most of the rules in these other states specify that roosters may not be kept in residential areas, and the ones that do usually impose a 3-acre minimum. Basically because everybody knows that roosters are a nuisance and they serve really no purpose in the chicken community. They are not needed for hens to lay eggs and have the potential to be aggressive on top of the noise pollution they create. For example, 10 years ago, Portland, Oregon created a law allowing private homeowners to house 4 female chickens, but they banned roosters. That was done because in the absence of a beneficial reason, keeping roosters by their legal definition is a private nuisance. Plus, keeping a rooster locked up in tight quarters is bad parenting. It's not as bad as leaving your dog in a hot car on a hot summer day with the windows closed, but keeping roosters on a small piece of property is just not in the best interest or the community's. Now I'm going to show you some evidence that I created, not created, but formulated here.
Is there sound in your presentation?
There is.
So when you share, you have to click share,
Thank you.
and then I'll confirm.
Okay.
Why does my husband always fall? I don't get it.
Okay. Good to go?
I think so, I can hear, I'm not sure, but
All right.
let's hear.
I'm going to mute this video because it doesn't need sound, but I just want to kind of show you. So this is my neighbor's property, right? And you can see the chicken coop kind of in the back there. And then to the left of that fence, the way we're facing, that's my property, right? That's them, that's me. The chicken coop is right on the property line. Oops. That's my bedroom window, looking right down in the roosters. You can see that kind of red piece there. That's where the chicken coop is on the property line. And right behind those hemlocks is also where they are. And as you can see, they're free range, and at least some of them are, and they can jump on my property. And let me tell you, when that guy is standing right there and he's crowing and the sound bounces off the houses, you're gonna hear what that sounds like. Oh, actually, no, I don't have that sound. I have other sound. But it can get up to 71 decibels that I've actually gotten, and that's not even me being that close. It's probably about 30 feet away, but I'm not even up at the property line. Fairly close. All right. I'm not gonna play the whole video. I think you kind of get the point. I have other videos that show what it's like inside my home. It is not that much different. I'll play a little bit of this one. This is me walking upstairs, inside now, windows closed. This is on the other side. There's my little Lola. This is now the other side of my property. The audio doesn't do it as much justice, but when you're there, I mean, you can still hear it, but it's loud. And it's just continuous. All day. This is inside again. This will be I think the last one I'll show, and then I'll move on. Sit. 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 Good girl. Sit. Sit. This is the same day of the other videos. I just don't have enough memory to take a video all day, but I don't know if that came through, but I think you pretty much get the point. I'm gonna skip the last one. It's the same thing over and over and over and over. I have, what's that? Yes, I have, it goes on pretty much from morning until, dawn till dusk. Get a little break here and there, but for the most part, I have 14 hours worth of video on here. Oh, that's okay. I mean, if someone wants to listen to rooster noises later, I guess they can.
Aaron, has any other of the neighbors complained? Or are you shouldering all of it?
So, I am the closest, right? And so it's the worst for me. I've spoken to other neighbors. I did a petition. I didn't make it public. I just shared it to as many Greenwich people as I could through Facebook. I don't know if you saw that. I got 45 people to sign it. Is everyone on here from Greenwich? No. Most of them who signed it are some COSCOP people. I have 2 specific neighbors that are in the vicinity that said they would sign something if we need to even go further than that in the neighborhood. A couple of neighbors didn't want to sign, not because it didn't bother them, but because they're afraid of one of the neighbors who, has, let's just put it this way. Not the neighbor that I've been referring to most of the time. There's another neighbor who told me yesterday when I kind of warned her about this health code violation. I didn't want her to, I don't know, didn't want to get on her bad side, and I told her that she might get caught in the crossfire here. And she told me that she has roosters to get back at one of the other neighbors up on the hill who they've been having a dispute for years. So and I'm not going to mention her name, and of course it's just me saying that, right? But I'm telling you the truth that these roosters, it's like almost like a weapon. And I feel like, and I can show you the text messages that I brought with me. I have a year and a half's worth of text messages basically threatening me, saying if you don't stop texting me, then I'm not going to get rid of them. So the whole point of having a pet is for enjoyment, but somehow it's become a weapon. And weaponizing roosters, I mean, it sounds childish and silly, but that is what I'm dealing with. And that's why I just want to quickly go through this. They're using loopholes. I'm looking for a loophole in my favor. Essentially, that's what's going on. In terms of what I found, if anyone would like to see it here, I collected all this data from other towns within Fairfield County that specifically, I think Bethel's the only one that says no roosters whatsoever. But if you look at the different restrictions and the ordinances around Fairfield County, most of them are, you can have roosters except if your neighbor doesn't want you to. Different parts of the country have different ones, but for the most part, in residential areas, they're just not allowed because, again, they just don't really serve a purpose. I mean, they're cute, maybe. I don't know how anyone would want to deal with that, but if you really, the way the codes are written, for businesses that maybe want to have these, I don't know if we have any in Greenwich that officially do, but you don't need the male for the female, right? And so just to have them is just to say, all right, I have all these farm animals. So there's really no purpose. In the municipal code that I went through a lot of different documents. It basically says that you can have a special permission to have chickens or roosters or fowl, and single-family homes are, though, expressly excluded from the zoning rule. Even if they did have a rule, they did have special permission, which they can't if it's a single-family dwelling. It says that it has to be 100 feet from the street or or it has to be, 100 feet from the street or from the property line. And right now, that is, I mean, as you can see, it's right on my property line. There's nothing in the rule that expressly states that you can't do that. That's a problem. I talked about private nuisances. This is the Public Nuisance Law, and Fred knows, and a couple other people who were on the email. I made submitted a health code violation to try and get something going in my favor. I made that officially because it has to be investigated by the health department. So I sent that to Michael Long, who said he would look into it. They have to acknowledge that there could be a problem, whether or not it officially falls under the legal context of a public nuisance. It's kind of out of my hands at this point. But when it comes down to it, this is from the Board of Health, 1982, sanitary maintenance of animals says that they basically, for my neighbors right now, they violate all of these, right? No person, the last one in the letter D says, no person shall build or maintain a kennel or coop within 200 feet from the high water mark of a public water supply reservoir. Now, as you can see, this is from the Aquarian website. Now, if you notice where it's unchecked here, where it says drinking water watersheds, right? So watch, there's gonna be a red arrow that comes up. See how it's unchecked? Now I'm gonna check that, right? So that's the public watershed right there. Walnut Street is down here. 464 Valley Road is specifically mentioned on this map, but this is where I live, right in this vicinity, right? It's not within 200 feet, it's in there. So again, that's the loophole that I'm kind of looking for to get out of this nightmare. But I have some references if people want to say it. I have one more thing in closing, and then I will let you guys go about and enjoy your lives. Okay. Now that you've seen the evidence, I'm asking, in fact, I'm imploring you to either enforce the current ordinances that quite ambiguously disallow roosters, or recreate ordinances with specificity to protect taxpaying homeowners like myself who want nothing more than peace and quiet, which is a right that we all deserve. Furthermore, it is a tort. I'm litigating this myself right now and hope that some kind of agreement can be reached. Again, I think it's really important that I say this. I love animals. I really do. And I believe that people should be able to have chickens, and if it's for economic opportunity or just for personal enjoyment. However, nobody should have a right to infringe upon another person's health and safety, emotional safety in this case. The ability to have a rooster is not based on public interest. It's but a loophole that violates public and private nuisance laws. Rewriting the ordinance or enforcing the current ordinances is not only a moral obligation, it's the law. And I hope that the law and right-minded thinking takes the place of the absence of rational thinking and decency that is lacking in this equation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aaron. I appreciate that. I think we probably should meet with health and go over all these points that Aaron brought up, because I grew up in Coscow, as you know, and behind Coscow School when zoning was a little different. So we had 2 goats, ducks, chickens, rabbits, no roosters. And very different time, but certainly even then, I know if somebody said something, about the goat or something, I know my father was always very careful about that. And it was only maybe 3 or 4 years, but I don't remember any, big complaints about it. But we didn't have roosters, and I know dogs barking all day long. We do have some laws about that and tethering laws. So I would ask that maybe if there, in the absence of something, as Aaron said, that maybe we come up with something just to provide relief. And again, we all love animals, but just something fair and reasonable.
The other thing I was wondering about.
And maybe I'm going to add to that, Fred, that you had the ordinance there. I've been getting a lot of complaints about residents that don't have their garbage picked up, and the garbage is excessively overflowing. So I think it's more than animals. I love animals too. There's a health ordinance, and I think enforcement, I feel like that's a mantra of mine. What can we do more for enforcement?
I agree. Barbara?
Right. The other thing I wanted to mention, I haven't looked into this personally yet, but based on the ordinance that Mr. Boxer mentioned, it sounded like this might be a zoning issue. Have you talked to anyone in the zoning department about this?
Were they on the health code? Yes, but I don't think sent the zoning to, I think, you guys, but I don't think anyone was included on that from zoning. I don't know.
So we
Okay,
could
because it
forward
sounds like this might be a zoning enforcement issue as well.
I agree.
And I think that's something we need to look into.
Okay, again, I think just also with health, going over that and within the
Absolutely.
200 feet of the watershed. And if it's right, within 100 feet of another residence, then there's a violation right there. So I think I think there's some violations on the books right now. So I think maybe you'll have a meeting with the police department, health, and zoning next week, and, and just go and make a visit there, because I think they're pretty clear that there was some violations right off the bat.
It certainly sounds that way.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks, Barbara.
Time, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Aaron. Thanks so much. Thanks for being patient. Okay, I know we have a special meeting now, so we don't see any other business, so is there a motion to adjourn?
Lauren Raven, so moved.
Janet Stone McWigan, I second.
All those in favor, Fred Camillo's a yes.
Lauren Raven, yes.
Janet Stone McWigan, yes.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Barb. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, everybody who attended.